Hello, everyone. Say, have you had difficulties of recent years drawing big game tags? The difficulty in pulling a good tag has many of us thinking of Africa. I get a lot of comments, letters, questions about Africa. So my last trip over there, I visited with my outfitter, Werner von Seydlitz, with whom I hunted several times, to get a good roundup of what a new African hunter can expect. How do you prepare for it? What should you expect? We had a good conversation. Why don't you join us? We'll see a lot of images and photos from Africa as we're discussing what you need to consider, what you need to bring along, and exactly what's going to happen when you get there. It truly is one of the best buys in big game hunting in the world today. I think you might want to give it a listen.
Hello, everyone. Ron Spomer in Namibia with one of my favorite PHs, Werner von Seydlitz of Immenhof Safaris. And Werner, how many times have we been hunting together?
We've done a couple of beautiful hunts together.
Yeah.
A privilege.
This is probably my 6th or 7th time hunting with Werner. And he's the epitome of what modern African hunting, I think, is all about, at least in Southern Africa. Namibia, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and such. And he hunts most of those places. They have a farm. He's, 5th generation?
I'm the 4th generation, and the children are now the 5th generation growing up. And, what a privilege.
Yeah.
Doing what we're doing every day.
Yeah, no kidding. Werner, what I would like to do is give folks an idea of what Africa is really like. We get so many misconceptions and myths and whatnot. What is it really like for someone to come over here for the first time to go on a safari? Are we going to be wrestling snakes and fighting off charging lions or what?
There are a lot of myths and a lot of stories happening. And that is a problem, that the campfire stories that we know as being a joke is sometimes taken pretty serious. And it is safe. Namibia especially, you've got those countries where there are a little bit more of a challenge to travel to. But that is more your paperwork, your officials. But that's what we are there for, is to make traveling easy, and to use companies from the States to help you with the rifle papers, the import papers and everything. But on the side of snakes and mosquitoes, yes, I, on my personal note, would recommend to take the Malarone with you and rather have a gin tonic more too. No, joke on the side. But if you get it, if you have the symptoms and you go back, rather tell your doctor and get treated, because not everyone is doing well with the Malarone or whatever product they use.
Yeah, I can sure vouch for that. Folks, what we're talking about, of course, are all these medicines. You think, I don't want to go to Africa and have to get shots for yellow fever and all these different diseases they get. And my goodness, I have never had a problem with any diseases. I very rarely take medications, although the anti-malaria is this Malarone. And a lot of people, it doesn't work well with them, or they have bad nightmares or something. But what I found out over the years is just what Werner is saying, is that he lives here and he's only ever contracted malaria once. I haven't seen any mosquitoes on this trip, and we're right along the river. We're hunting hippo and elephant in lots of swamp country. So don't go overboard and worry about that. And also, there are cures. If you get malaria, you can get cured very simply, right? With the right medication.
A great time to travel is your summer or winter. Mm-hmm. If somebody doesn't want too many bugs around, then you travel in the winter times. Yes, you will get countries like Zambia and places where you will get the tsetse fly, which is going to bug you and it's going to bother you. But still, in the winter times, it's going to be way less than coming September to November, when the heat picks up. Beginning of the year, you will have more mopani flies, tsetse flies, a couple more mosquitoes. But every camp is so well equipped with mosquito nets, with Peaceful Sleep as a bug spray or mosquito spray. So every person in this country and neighboring countries are doing their best to keep everyone happy in that sense. And I think that's important.
Yeah, and it works beautifully well. I mean, I have been sleeping like a rock. We have hippos roaring outside our tent. They're probably within 100 yards or less of the tent. We've got an elephant feeding around the camp. And, of course, you hear hyenas in the distance, and there's all these exciting sounds, but bugs and insects are not one of the issues, one of the problems at all. And the facilities tell a little bit more about what to expect. Are people going to be sleeping on the ground in a tent the way we do in Alaska? Yeah. Or how are we?
We've got very comfortable facilities, I must say. In Namibia and all the camps that I also hunt in our neighboring countries, have great accommodation, good bedding, comfortable, and you're not sleeping on the ground. So you're not roughing it too much.
Yeah.
You're pretty much in a comfortable accommodation and good food, like you can see.
Yeah.
Where it's all well taken care of, and it's not roughing it too much.
No, it's not roughing
Comfortable.
it.
You got on the travel side, you can charge your equipment even if it's in the main building, or nowadays some have it in their rooms with solar that you can charge it. You've got fans in the rooms to make it, if it's hot enough, comfortable. So I must say the comfort zone has definitely, in this modern time, been upgraded for whatever area we are in and the possibility they have in the area.
No. Speaking of areas, where should people expect to be hunting? I mean, I don't think everyone assumes you're going to be on a farm. And you don't have to be on a farm, but a lot of the best hunting in Namibia and South Africa really are hunting farms. So how does that work?
So our main base, Immenhof, is on a farm. It's our family ranch. And yes, I typically like to start my hunts with the clients the first time traveling to Namibia, Africa, on a farm, having the introduction to the hunt on a farm and later upgrade to the big game areas. Because I think that first time experience, being out in the field, in the bush, and tracking and learning about the animals, nature, and everything around that is so important. And then one could go and hunt other areas. So what we as Immenhof do is try and take you out into other areas, because it's so important to not see other, just Namibia as a country, but also our neighboring countries, and to have the connection to people and landscape and everything around that, which is very important.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So when I started hunting with Werner, we were on the farm, the ranch, which is quite similar to being, we'll say, in the thornier parts of Texas. Some parts of South Africa look like Wyoming or Montana, and some of them obviously are wetter and jungly when you get into the swamps and stuff. But when you're on a farm, you're essentially hunting the way you would on a friend's ranch in Montana. Yeah. So you've got your buildings and your kitchens and all your modern conveniences, the electricity and everything else, yet you're going out and finding what we would call exotic game, kudu and oryx and nyala and sable, and oh my goodness, there are so many different animals. But then when Werner says big game, you're meaning the dangerous game, the buffalo, hippo, and the elephant and stuff. And ordinary, what we would call big game hunting, would include all of the antelope as well. Here they call that plains game. Yeah. So you're going to get plenty of plains game action on these ranches. Now, some folks are saying, I'm not going to go hunt in a fence for these animals that are essentially tied up. That's not fair. How does that all play out?
So we offer different kinds of hunting areas, and we don't want to go into the topic ethics, but Namibia generally has big open ranches. We hunt over 200,000 acres of ranches, which are from cattle ranches with low fences, where game, like in the US, have learned over generations to live with that, to go over or under the fences. And then we have our big areas that are high fence, but they are 12,000 acres upwards, which are great, free ranging with a fence. So yes, there's a fence around it, but the hunting is a fair chase hunt, considering the fence. And we have the cattle ranches, which I would say, for what we have and we can make the best out of it, is very important. Why hunting on ranches is so important is we've got ranches that live off the hunting, to make it worthwhile for them to have game running on their ranches with their cattle, with their goats, with their sheep, where they've got an income out of hunting, which if game has a value, it's going to survive. If it's not going to have a value, ranchers don't want it around. They will deduct or hunt them, or to have more feed for their cattle, for their goats.
Yeah, that's an important point. And we've seen this in the States too. I mean, how many of us have bison walking in our backyards? You know, we cleared out the bison, we cleared out all the game that to make America safe for farming. You can't raise cattle if you've got all your grass going into bison. And from a perspective of a hunter, I would prefer more bison, but I think you guys have done a wonderful job over here. You've got, folks, I think we need to realize that Africa was settled even about the same time as North America, even a little earlier. They started settling this country, so it's really quite similar. So they got rid of the Cape buffalo because it brought diseases into the cattle herds and whatnot. But they also got rid of pretty much everything else that competed, especially the predators. The wonderful thing with farmers like Werner's family now is that they're bringing wildlife back, and some of the best wildlife populations and the most diversity in your native species are on private ranches, because not only do they provide the habitat, they provide the protection. And this is one of the reasons they have some high fences. It not just keeping animals in, it's keeping poachers out. And they're constantly having to fight the poachers. So they've done a wonderful job of bringing back native wildlife because it's possible for them to make a living off of it. Over here, if you're a farmer and you have oryx or kudu on your place and you shoot one or two, you can feed your hired help with it. You can sell it on the open market. Werner has a butchery at his place, and they make finished meats for sale out of the native game. And some people think, oh, that's horrible to turn native wildlife into a commercial product. Well, the alternative is you get rid of it completely, and then you have your domestic livestock. We've seen how well that works for wildlife. So it's a grand system over here. Don't think that these animals on the farms and ranches are tame, anything but. They're just as wary and spooky as they are in the so-called open areas, but there's much more there because of the poaching control.
No, that is true. And it is so important for us and the young or new generation of hunting to bring back the youth into the field, teaching them about what hunting is all about, the usage of meat, the usage and protection of game. It is, I think, more than ever, we have to become ambassadors for the younger generations, the future of hunting, and showing what it's all about. And privileges to be hunting like with Ron that spread the word for us in Africa and raise our voices in such a positive thing is, especially with so many people that are unfamiliar. It's education at the end, to educate the people around us on the future of hunting, even the non-hunters. We don't want to convert everyone to a hunter, but we want to have an understanding of what the future entails in the living together and the growth of the population of human and the game. How can we find a balance, and with the world around us or internationally, that it stays accepted? And everyone has got their emotions, yes, but we as hunters are the future for the game, is to protect and to preserve what we're going to have for our children or the next generation.
Yeah, and I don't know that you can overemphasize that, because so many people today grow up without wildlife. If you're not living on a farm or a ranch close to it or out in a wild area like this, you're urban, suburban, you see wildlife on television and you hear the standard lines about, oh, let's all protect the little bunnies and elephants. But in reality, those animals have to have a purpose. They have to be a part of the economy. That's the way nature works. Nature makes everything feeding on everything else. I mean, people who watch the Lion King movie get that storyline right there. They actually did that one fairly well, because it's the way it works. It's that cycle of life. And what you see over here is people beginning to utilize native wildlife in that cycle. And why should we push all the wildlife out just so we can have cattle and sheep and eat those, when we can eat the native animals and control the populations without overdoing it? I think this is where people get mixed up. In the old days, we wiped everything out with market hunting, and then we replaced it with cattle. Well, now it's come around to people understanding you don't just have cattle, you can also have your oryx and your eland and your kudu and all those wonderful native animals that can provide useful products. That's what nature does. You use nature's products rather than man's. Okay, so if someone wants to come over on a hunt, they can go to your website or anyone else's, I suspect. And you guys, I think the important thing to note is that the outfitters like Werner are going to help you with your permits, your rifle permits and all these things, and really clue you in on what you need to bring so you don't bring too much stuff.
That's correct. Yeah. That's typically a problem. There's so much washing going on with the laundry service.
Yes.
Pretty well. Even in the deepest bush, you will be taken care of in that. Yeah, but as outfitters make sure when you meet us at the shows or through emails or WhatsApp nowadays, the modern technology is to start communicating about your hunt, what you need to bring along, what you should think about, what currencies, what is important to have on you, with you in your hunt. And to bring your rifles along is really not a problem. There are routes where it might be, but we'll advise you on the best way to travel to bring your own rifle for your experience, because the experience you're going to have traveling with your rifle, which you might have inherited or is something unique for you, I think is important.
Yeah.
So there's so much encouragement of, no, can I bring? And I rather rent. Yes, we've got wonderful rifles for the person that doesn't want to travel with a rifle to rent, and all calibers, which is also unique, because some people say, okay, if I'm going to travel all the way to Africa, I might add on a photographic safari, which we as Imanov also do. We do photographic safaris in the whole of Namibia, Botswana, Zambia, with guided in a vehicle or in a 210, flying you to the unique places you want to see. So in that case, some might say, I'd rather leave my rifle at home. I'll rent a rifle because I want to do some other traveling. But if you're coming uniquely to one country with your rifle, we'll make it safe for you to have your rifle with and have all the paperwork done and everything in a way that you can enjoy a full safari.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, what happens on these hunts, I've been on many now, when I fly in, the first thing you do is get a form that you fill out for Johannesburg, South Africa, firearms import permit. You just fill out your form, put in your information, the serial number on your rifle so they know what's coming. When you get there, you go out of the baggage area and you go to the police where the firearms come out and you say, hey, this is mine, find it. They find it for you, open it up, double check the numbers that match, fill out a form, hand it to you, and you're on your way. Yeah. And when you come into Namibia, that was even easier. You land to the airport without a pre-filled form and you say, hey, I brought this rifle in. They look at it, they fill out the form with the numbers handed to you, and you have your license, and you're free to go. But I could see the advantage of not bringing your own rifle, because what you said, you freely travel the country, go to different lodges, and just without having to worry about dragging rifles through national parks and things like that. So it runs either way, but boy, I sure like to bring my own rifle. You know how it is with a rifle. This is my baby, and I want to use it.
Have it with you. It's safe to travel with your spouse and your children. Namibia is really one of the countries where it is so nice to do a self-drive or guided drive with your family in the combination with a hunt. So don't think it's difficult. It's just for the hunt alone. Yes, we as hunters like to do our show and go and hunt alone, but Namibia and neighboring countries are safe to bring family along, and there's so much to see. We've got so many spouses or friends coming along on photography while hunting, while on the stalk.
Yeah.
There's always time to teach, to show, and to have a moment to appreciate the wonders of nature, the beauty of nature, with the birding, which we did on this trip. The birds in Africa are so unique, and the trees and the different grasses. So it's educational in a way, but a fun thing to do while you're hunting.
Yeah, so don't hesitate to bring your family. So many, well, from my perspective as a man, the women always are a little bit more hesitant. Some of them are a little more eager than their husbands, I think, and there are some wonderful women hunters. You've shown plenty of photos of the ones that are taking some impressive animals. But if your spouse, regardless of the sex, is a little hesitant and worried about Africa, allay their fears, because it's so easy. My wife loves to come. On this trip, we have 3 couples, and our friends' wives are absolutely loving it. They ride along while we're hunting. They follow us while we're hunting. They're photographing and birding as we go along. They're asking questions about wildlife and tracks and learning so much. And
the combination of hunting and fishing is also possible. For the avid fisherman, one can do a great fishing on the rivers up in the Caprivi, or go down to our coastal town, Swakopmund, where shark fishing and other edible fish is quite a nice add-on for everyone now. So like Ron says, to come and hunt, fish, and do a safari, whatever combination, that is something special to do. And for us, Blind is always there to come back, to have a repetitive client coming to visit Imanov again, because we can add on to their lifetime experience. And the motto we live on in Imanov is that a trophy is not a dead animal, but a living memory. And I think that is so important, to have the trophy as the cherry on top, maybe, but the whole experience, and whoever you can share it with, that is Yes, and I think that is very unique.
Yeah, we've sure seen that on this trip.
Yeah.
These guys are having an absolute blast. It's just, if you get the right mix of folks, you can have quite a party over here. And the PHs like Werner are just wonderfully accepting and entertaining with their stories of past adventures and stuff. So you're just going to have a wonderful time. It's anything else we can add to this? Coming over for the first time, you guys pretty much give you the layout. Bring this, don't bring that. What's going to happen? Temperatures, it's just a lot cooler than you might think. Don't think of a hot, sultry Africa. In most of southern Africa, where the best wildlife populations are and the best hunting, it can get pretty crispy down as close. Well, we got below zero.
Yeah.
No, below freezing, 32, below 0 centigrade. So you bring along some warm clothes, but it warms up in the afternoons pretty nicely. Almost never rains during the winter.
Don't stick to a green, not a khaki. The traditional khaki is rather better to go in a camouflage or in a darker green.
Yeah, not white.
Not white. And another thing which is very important to consider is to talk to your taxidermist at home to give you some tags along that we can put on the trophies. Or before you leave, we'll make sure that everything is rightly tagged and all the permits are signed and everything is done correctly so that the export of your trophies is running smooth. It is very important on that.
Here's the question. When folks come over, do they have to say, I want to buy a license for a kudu and an oryx and a springbuck? Or do you come over and say, gee, what's that animal? That's a nyala. How much for one of those? You can do that, right?
So in Namibia, we have quite an amazing permit system where we can add 2 of each species other than your CITES animals, your leopard or your cheetah, which you cannot export to the US, but your CITES animals need special permits. But most of the animals can be put onto the license depending on the area, and that gives you a bit more of a freedom of what you can hunt. But if you're going to a dangerous game area or a concession, like we call it, there are a limited quota available. So your professional hunter, we will make sure we can get the maximum on there that they have available. So, but you must definitely pre-book your elephant or your buffalo or your leopard. That is only on a certain quota availability. So
if I'm hunting on your ranch or any of the others that you hunt on, kudu, and we see just a spectacular springbuck or some other animal, and I hadn't previously said I want to hunt one, you do have the right to make one of those. And then
it's on your permit, and it will be. We make sure that most of us in Namibia, depending on the area, like I said, not everyone has a dictic available in the area, but if they know the client would like to hunt a dictic specifically, that has to be on the license. But like your springbuck, your warthog, your kudu, your gamsbuck, most of those species are already on your license. And just make sure you've discussed it with your professional hunter up front. But the availability, like you said, the flexibility of hunting other species is available in Namibia and South Africa.
And you don't have to prepay. You don't have to say, here's $1,000, I want to hunt a blue wildebeest, and then you never see one, and you lost your $1,000. That doesn't work that way, does it?
No, it doesn't work that way.
You shoot your wildebeest, and then you pay your $1,000.
Correct. So mostly your outfitters will ask for a deposit paid on the hunt. That is typically on your daily rate, on the days you're going to be there. But your trophies will be paid afterwards. So after you have taken what you might have found interesting for yourself, that will be done after the hunt.
Now, you cannot bring meat back to the U.S. hunts here.
You cannot take meat back to most of the countries. So the meat stays, but you will enjoy most of your meats on a nice barbecue or whatever way, a nice carpaccio. So there are good ways of testing and trying your own meat that you've harvested on your hunt.
Now, I will hear from folks saying, hi, that's terrible going to Africa, shooting animals and not using the meat. The meat is used. Yeah. You're not wasting anything.
Nothing. The poor hyenas sometimes lick their lips, and the jackals, because everything is used. And whatever we don't use, the little that is left goes to the vultures. Most of our ranches have vulture feeding places and for your predators, which they can then take care of the rest. But there's nothing wasted. On the ranches, we take it to our ranch itself. We got the animals at the ranches that gets used. In these concession areas, every piece of meat needs to be delivered to the community. and the chiefs or the headmen decide in which area the meat needs to be delivered. So it is important for everyone to know that nothing stays in the field, nothing gets left there. And that is so important that we use whatever we harvest. We don't shoot something that we won't use.
All right. Well, Werner and I went on for some time after this, but the camera didn't. It cut off. So I think I can sum it up by saying pretty much what Werner was talking about is what happens over there and what you can expect. The PH outfitter, if you get a good one, should handle everything for you. They will tell you all you need to know about importing your guns. You can go to your doctor, your county health, and find out about shots recommended for various countries, and always back that up with some good information from the locals. And you can find these folks, obviously, online by just doing a search. South Africa, Namibia, to a lesser degree, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Mozambique. Those are the 5 big ones. The first 2 are the ones that have the best bargains because there are so many great ranches down there of various sizes. All I would recommend is that when you're visiting with your PH, do hold his feet to the fire on whether or not you're going to be hunting free-range, self-reproducing game or things that are trucked in. Some of these places get so many hunters in that they have to replenish stocks by buying game and releasing it. If you want to be hunting where game is naturally reproducing, you can have some fenced ranches that are really big and they've got self-reproducing populations of game in there, and it is real wild hunting. As I said in this video, it's more about keeping the poachers out than keeping the game in. So give that all a consideration. You can go to some of the shows in the winter, the safari shows and the hunting shows on the weekends and such. Those often have booths manned by folks who either are from South Africa or Namibia and such, or are representatives of those firms here in the States. So do your research and your planning, and I think you're going to put together a safari that will definitely be the hunt of a lifetime. This is Ron Spomer. Thanks for watching. Hunt honest and shoot straight in Africa.